The Tory Lanez situation. Tory Lanez in California just got sentenced to 10 years in jail for the shooting of Megan Thee Stallion. He shot Megan Thee Stallion in the feet, y'all. Back in 2020, Tory Lanez, real name Daystar Peterson, had shot Megan Thee Stallion following a party at Kylie Jenner's home. The judge found him guilty on all 3 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm, discharging a loaded firearm, an unregistered loaded firearm at that, and discharging it with gross negligence. Lanez did apologize, saying that if he could change the whole situation, he would. He also said that he still has feelings towards Megan Thee Stallion that'll never change even after the situation that just transpired in 2020. Megan Thee Stallion could not appear to the sentence hearing because her mentally she just felt as though she just couldn't do it. And with all the trauma that had ended up happening around that time, you can kind of get a sense on why she couldn't do it. It's been so many backlash and trauma that she has had to face throughout this situation, when it comes from people saying that she lied about it, people are not on her side, all of these little factors. And obviously she had to go to the hospital because she was the one that was shot in the foot. And she's getting all this backlash from people saying that she's lying about the situation. Drake saying that she lied about the situation. The fans of Tory are saying that he didn't do it. He is innocent, and Megan is lying about the situation. So she didn't want to attend the whole situation. She felt as though that night ruined basically her night with her career to some extent, because now she's facing backlash because people are thinking that she was the one that put Tory Lanez in jail, and she was the one that basically messed up his music career. Now, the thing about it, there was DNA on the weapon, but it came back inconclusive. There was an eyewitness that was in the car along with Megan Thee Stallion. Now, Megan Thee Stallion did say that Tory Lanez shot her. The other witness said that Tory Lanez discharged the firearm and that he was basically told Megan Thee Stallion to dance, and then he had fired the bullet shooting Megan Thee Stallion. So with his case, it's different because of the simple fact that even though that the DNA was inconclusive, there's 2 eyewitnesses in the case that basically states that he was there when the murder happened. They got into an altercation and he ended up firing. So if you're going to shoot, you're going to have to kill all the witnesses, because the witnesses will get you caught up in the whole situation, because they have, the officers, as in they have eyewitnesses that they can go to and be like, hey, this person then committed this crime, and they was actually there at the scene. Versus with someone that I talked about in my last podcast, YNW Melly, there's alibis of him not being there at the scene of the crime, and also there's no witnesses. There was no witnesses that can say that he was the one that shot. Versus with Tory, there's 2 witnesses, and even Megan Thee Stallion, clearly the victim in the case, stated that Tory Lanez shot her. Do I believe that Tory did it? I feel as though Tory did it, but I feel like the state explained the situation of what happened that night wrong. We all know that a situation happened. We know that Tory Lanez was battling through things mentally from the time that he was just drinking when he was younger, and he just had a whole lot of alcohol abuse coming up. So with that in mind, we already know that Tory Lanez has some sort of alcohol abuse and some sort of problem in the situation, right? Which is what was going on with Megan Thee Stallion too, which is why they was connecting. They would just drink the pain away because of all the problems that they had. So we know that alcohol, that causes problems in regards to how people think and react in situations to 9 times out of 10, if they were sober, they would not be doing the same thing. So we know that an altercation happened in the car. Do I believe that Tory Lanez told Megan Thee Stallion to dance and then shot at her? Nah. I don't think that happened. I think that was probably the only thing that Megan probably pushed to some extent. I don't think Tory Lanez said that. I'm pretty sure they got into an argument and she was trying to get out the car. Megan Thee Stallion was trying to get out the car, and something had ended up happening to where Tory Lanez had ended up shooting Megan Thee Stallion. I don't think it was on no sort of jealousy. I don't think Tory Lanez was ever jealous of Megan Thee Stallion. Even though his music is underappreciated to some extent. If you listen to Alone at Prom and his other albums in the past, they're good albums, but they wasn't selling that much. And Megan Thee Stallion at that time was up. And throughout the case, Tory Lanez was speaking about the whole situation in his album and in his song, but I still don't think it was no jealousy behind the whole situation. So with that in mind, I feel like with the eyewitnesses, they're saying that Tory Lanez did it. I don't think it was on no jealousy. I just feel like a simple argument just went bad. They're on alcohol, they're not sober, and he just ended up making a mistake. Now, what Tory Lanez was saying, apologizing and how he feels towards Megan Thee Stallion, do I feel like he is truthful about that? Oh, no. Hell no, I don't believe nothing that he said. Because if I know that a female snitched on me and got me 10 years and the prosecution was asked for 13 and I got 10 years, am I going to feel apologetic and show remorse, especially if you believe that you didn't do it and all of this stuff? Like, nah. I'ma forever just be like, this girl just got me 10 years in prison. He hasn't showed no remorse. He's just trying to say that so that way the judge can get an image on, okay, he's remorseful, the things that he's been doing in jail, like helping other inmates, praying with them, stuff like that. Maybe that can get him a lower sentence because he was facing 13. The prosecution was trying to give him 13 years, which is absolutely crazy because someone that we're going to talk about later in the segment, he only got way less for a way tougher crime, a way harsher crime. He ended up killing somebody. Tory Lanez only shot someone in the foot and gets 13 years. So they're going to appeal the sentence for sure. For sure. And I feel like he's going to get less time. California, you only have to serve 85% of your sentence. So he's already been in jail for around a year, 10 years. He probably only has to serve about like 8 years, around like 7 years, 10 months, 8 years. He's 31 years old. And I feel like the reason why he took it all the way to trial is because he didn't feel as though he was going to get 10 years. And with these pleas, they're going to have certain stipulations in regards to what can happen if you do take the plea deal. That's the thing. So maybe in one of the plea deals, because he's from Canada, you never know. One of the plea deals could have been like, oh, you could serve 4 years in jail, but you have to get deported to Canada. And you have to remain in Canada forever, basically. So maybe that was a reason on why he decided to not take the plea whatsoever. I feel like I would have took the plea personally, but you just never know the certain stipulations that could have came. Like I said, he could have went to Canada and not came back. And that's what just makes it interesting because maybe that changed his whole mindset on I could take it to trial and I feel like I can beat it. I have the industry on my side because they're saying that she's faking the whole thing. So maybe that, along with the people on my side, the DNA coming back as inconclusive to not only the other eyewitness but me, maybe I feel as though I can get away with it. But both the eyewitnesses, Megan Thee Stallion and the other girl in the car, said that Tory Lanez did it. said that Tory Lanez did it. So that's where I feel like he was fried. That's where I feel like he was fried at. Do I feel like that Tory Lanez, if he gets out, let's say he gets out in around 7-8 years, like I said, if he gets out around that time, I feel like his music career is over. Tory Lanez's music career is over if he gets out on that 7 to 8 year mark. He better get like some sort of good behavior so that way he can get out in at least 5. Because he's 31 years old. His music, like I said, is already appreciated. Underappreciated. Alone at Prom only sold 17K. And that album is so hard. That album's so hard. Lady of Namek, The Color Violet, Enchanted Waterfall. That album's so hard. He has Miami, I Ain't Been Broke in a Minute, Say It, Love Like. Tory Lanez is a hard singer. He's just a hard singer, hard artist. Know what I'm saying? But it's unfortunate in the fact that he's 31 years old. It doesn't even feel like he's 31 years old. I didn't even think Tory Lanez was that old. He's been out for a little minute. So the fact that this situation happened and he got sentenced to basically 10 years, but he probably has to serve around 7-8 years, is just, by the time he get out, he might be around 37. It's going to be hard for him to fit back in the music industry. It's not like when he left, he was basically at his like peak prime, like prime as in it was a high prime, and people are going to get back on Tory Lanez when he gets out. He's going to have his fan base. I'm not saying that he's not going to have his fan base, but I just feel like he was underrated as an artist. He was very underrated as an artist. And that's the thing. When you're already underrated as an artist in the industry, when you come back from jail, it's going to be hard to get back to where you were when you went to jail. It's going to be hard for, let's use an example, Pooh Shiesty to come back and he's still going to be on that same type of timing in regards to where he was at in the music industry. All these rappers that were coming up that were big at the time, it's hard for them to just leave and come back. People thought with Bobby Shmurda when he got out of jail that he was just going to come back and be on that same thing. He was going to be like the next person coming up being big just like that after he had just dropped the song. But he had ended up getting out of jail, and look at what happened. His music has been trash. Absolute trash. I don't even think he drops music anymore. That's the thing. It's so hard unless you just have that core fan base and you're already big at the time. Once you go to jail for, let's say, a couple of years, that you could come back and still be at that top and still pick up right where you left off. And that's how I feel with Tory. He's just underappreciated. So even with him leaving, and let's say he come back at around 37, 38, how do we know that he's going to be on that same type of timing and pick up right where he left off in regards to status? It's too rare to end up happening. It just is. So do I think Megan is wrong? Because Megan at first, when she got shot by Tory Lanez, mind you, this was around 2020. This was around the same time the whole Black Lives Matter movement was going on. Like, Black Lives Matter was going on before that. Let's get that out the way. But it was really getting big towards that time with the George Floyd situation, you know. So that was going on around that time. So Megan Thee Stallion, when she did get shot, at first she told police that she stepped on glass. But obviously she was limping, and then she had ended up going to the police, not the police, to the hospital, and they end up finding a bullet because they had to do surgery on her foot. They found a bullet. So now obviously the police is going to question, LAPD is going to question, hey, what's the actual situation? What was going on? Tory Lanez was trying to bribe Megan by giving her $1 million to keep her mouth closed so that way he doesn't go to jail. So right there, he already knew that he messed up. So the fact that they exposed that evidence, he was already fried from right there. Even if the weapon comes back inconclusive, that DNA, if it comes back inconclusive, or whatever. You have 2 eyewitnesses that said that you did it, and you're trying to bribe Megan Thee Stallion at the beginning $1 million to keep her mouth closed. So LAPD is going to question all of that, and that's when Megan Thee Stallion finally told the truth on what ended up happening that night. Alcohol can do something to you. I understand that. But you got to, if you're going to do alcohol, you're going to have to stay focused and not drink too much and just know your limits, because this is a perfect example of what can happen when you're off alcohol. And the other topic that I'm going to talk about is another example on if you do drink any alcohol, you need to control yourself. Because this simple thing that messed up Tory Lanez' life forever, his music career. It's going to be it's going to be hard for Tory Lanez to get back and pick up right where he left off. It's rare for other rappers to do that in the first place. And since Tory Lanez, like I said, was underappreciated, it's going to be hard for him to do that. Megan Thee Stallion isn't wrong for how she moved after the situation happened, because obviously this was, like I said, it was around the Black Lives Matter movement, so she had to tell police that situation. Because imagine if her as a black woman, it could be if she was a black woman or a black man, doesn't matter, if she would have told police that there was a gun in the car, this had ended up happening, and this was all going on during the Black Lives Matter, George Floyd situation, the police are already going to be on high alert. The moment they hear a gun, high alert, just like that. So she had to attack the situation a certain way, so that way everybody can just stay calm, and when she's ready to come out and say what actually happened that night, that's what she did. That's exactly what she did. And it turned out that Tory Lanez had ended up doing it, and Tory Lanez was arrested and was basically convicted on all 3 counts. I don't think he's going to get deported. I don't think none of that's going to happen after this whole trial. But I do feel like Tory Lanez's music career is going down the drain. It's done for, because he's going to get out when he's 38, and it's going to be, I just feel like it's hard. It's going to be too hard for him to come back. Now, see, if he does come back and picks up right where he left off, oh yeah. But let's say someone like, I don't know, Drake went to jail and he gets out. People are still going to be on Drake. People are still going to know that Drake is going to pick up right where he left off, because of the simple fact that Drake is just Drake. He has his core fan base. Drake's been running the game for all of these years. So when he comes back, the fans are already going to know he's going to be on the same type of timing when he went in as he left. And he's going to consistently and continually drop good music, and people are gonna rock with him because his fan base is just too high. His core fan base is just there, so no matter what happens, they're still going to rock with him. But Tory Lanez was just underappreciated, I feel like, as a rapper. So with that in mind, it ain't gonna fare well with him being locked up for 7-8 years. Plus, life moves on. That's the thing. Life moves on. Once something happens, people will talk about that situation for about 4 weeks max. They'll repost about it. They'll do all of this. It will be hot the first couple of days. Then by that 4th, 5th week, people will just stop talking about it, and it will just disappear just like that. Because life goes on. Life doesn't stop for anybody. So you don't want to be the topic of the news in a bad way. People talk about your name, they disrespect you, and they'll do that for so many days, and then 4 weeks later, people will just forget about you. That's the bad thing about going to jail. People will forget about you just like that. You may come into jail with, I don't know, some baby mom or boyfriend or family members, even just simple family members that'll ride for you, that were riding for you at the time before you had went to jail. But when you go to jail and you be doing 5-10 years, them same family members, do you think that they're still going to be there? Every single one of them is going to be a small percentage that are still going to ride for you when you are still in jail, while you're in jail. The baby mamas, they might leave. They might go, have sex with somebody else. Do you think for 10 straight years they're going to be loyal? That's hard for anybody, especially in this generation. And it's so messed up. So with that, it's just, Tory Lanez is just, I don't think his fans are going to be with him for that long throughout the whole entire ride. Like 7 years is long. So when he does get out, there's probably going to be some fans that are still on Tory Lanez. But is Tory Lanez still going to be making music at 38? You never know what could happen when you were in jail for that long. So it's just a lot that just comes with that whole situation. But Megan wasn't wrong about it. I don't think what Megan said all the way was true, but it was true to the point to where Tory Lanez got convicted. Tory Lanez, I feel like, did shoot Megan Thee Stallion. That you can't cut in no way. I can't personally defend him. There's 2 eyewitnesses. People are saying that you did it. So who else am I going to believe? Even though the DNA came back inconclusive. You feel what I'm saying? So with that in mind, it's just a learning lesson. His lawyers are already going to appeal the sentence. Already, because I feel like 10 years was harsh. I thought he was probably going to get 6. Prosecution was asking for 13. I thought he was going to get maybe 5 or 6 for shooting someone in the foot. But the fact that he got 10 years for shooting someone in the foot, obviously LA laws are more harsher than Texas laws, Florida laws in regards to having a weapon and stuff like that. But I feel like even if it was in Texas or Florida, 10 years I feel like is a little bit harsh for Tory Lanez. I feel like you should split that in half. 5 years to 6 years max. But 10 years and then ask for 13, now that's absolutely crazy to me. that is absolutely crazy to me. So with that, Tory Lanez, it's just, you just gotta come back. Like you said, you're trying to come back better than you were when the whole situation happened. You're trying to be a better person. So when you do come out of jail, after you get everything settled, you just gotta get back on your P's and Q's. You just gotta get back on your P's and Q's and know your mistake and know what you have to do to fix it, so that way nothing like that ever happens in the long run. Yeah, you have issues that didn't happen in the past, but you gotta find maybe another way to cope with it, because now you done seen that alcohol isn't the best way to cope with that pain. It isn't the best way to deal with the situation, because alcohol can go so south in regards to how you react and do certain things, where you are mentally and physically, versus when you're sober, you have a clear mind and you know what these things that I do, what are the repercussions behind it, versus when you're not sober, you don't really care about that. So with that in mind, let's move on. I'm not going to say free Tory Lanez. I feel like he did the crime, so he has to do the time. I honestly believe that. So it's just a learning lesson, but Tory Lanez will just have to get through it. He's 31 years old. He'll probably get out when he's about 36, 37. Especially on good behavior. So with that, let's move on.